Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Équinoxe Television. We are broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, locally made explosive devices continue inflicting pains, fear and panic on the people of the two English-speaking regions of the Republic of Cameroon in a socio-political and security crisis for more than 4 years. Today, in the last incident, one person was injured at Junction in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda. In the meantime, the Minister of Territorial Administration of the Republic of Cameroon, Atanganji Paul, urges the population of Babaju, a locality in the west region of the country, close to the northwest region, to collaborate with the military to fight what he qualifies as pockets of resistance. Civilians, gunmen still resisting government's efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the crisis-stricken regions. Stay with us. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the news on Équinoxe Television. One person has been injured in an explosion at T Junction in the northwest regional chief town, Bamenda. The explosion of a locally made bomb occurred today around between 4 and 5 p.m. in the northwest region of the country. It occurred around an area where security forces are often stationed to check against any possible eruption of violence within the context of the more than 4-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Elsewhere, in mile 17, Bengui, today, another explosion occurred and the military was targeted in this incident, according to our sources on the ground, and the loud sound from the explosive devices inflicted fear, panic in the people around that area of mile 17 in Bengui, in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Our correspondent in the northwest region, Stella, reports that arrests were made, including school children. Mile 17 women also marched with peace plans to the mayor, and of course to the divisional officer of Bengui, to ask for the release of their husbands and children who were arrested following that explosion at mile 17 in Bengui in the northwest region of the country. Both officials went to the gendarmerie brigade, that is today, to ensure the release of those who were arrested after that explosion. We'll be bringing to you updates on this with our correspondent in the northwest region. In the meantime, the Minister of Territorial Administration has told the people of Babaju, a locality in the west region of the country close to the border with the crisis-hit northwest region, to collaborate with the military in order to fight what he qualifies as pockets of resistance. Gunmen still resisting government's efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the northwest and southwest regions. Charles Ekome reports.
Populaire où tout le monde se sent impliqué.
Cameroon's Minister of Territorial Administration prescribes a defense strategy that brings everyone on board to fight against what he qualifies as pockets of resistance in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions. On a fact-finding mission to the scene of one of the deadliest incidents recorded this year in the Anglophone crisis, he told governors of the northwest and west regions, members of parliament, mayors and traditional leaders to step up efforts to restore peace and normalcy in the English-speaking regions. To the population of Mbachu in Babaju along the border with the northwest region, he called for collaboration with security and defense forces.
The population should work hand in hand, because people coming from Benin to come and attack a checkpoint are coming from families. And if these families could inform the gendarmes and the police that we have seen dubious fellows leaving the villages coming towards the checkpoint, it will permit the local population to put in, even the force of law and order, to put in place strategies to take them.
This is where one of the latest attacks by gunmen occurred.
They attacked the checkpoint and killed 3 gendarmes, 1 police and 2 civilians. So 6 people died.
The minister said investigations to track down the attackers are on course.
Away from the northwest and southwest regions of the country, insecurity remains a major problem in major towns of the Republic of Cameroon, including the economic capital, Douala. And here in Douala, earlier today, a man by name Njumesi Job, also known as Lama, age 44, was severely beaten almost to death by some individuals yet to be identified. That happened in the Douala 2 subdivision, notably around the Pozam neighborhood, and that was in the early hours of the morning today. Lama, who lives in the neighborhood, left his home at about 4 a.m. to meet with his business partner, who was to help him transport 3 horses in his truck to Equatorial Guinea. Unfortunately, before Lama could get to the junction, a group of boys yet to be identified assaulted him and cut his hand wide open. They wounded him severely on the head. He was later transported to the hospital for medical attention. Now take a listen to this witness account.
What I want to tell you people is that in this quarter Pozam, we are suffering. Our unborn children are killing us. They come right into our houses. You can't leave your house at 5 o'clock. In the afternoon at 6, 7 o'clock, they aggressing you on the way, which is not good. They have just beaten one of our brothers this morning, our son in the quarter. They have beaten him at 5 a.m. broke his head, taken money 500 and something thousand as they are telling us. And the boy, they went to New Bell, Tega. They refused. They went to New Bell, they refused. They're now in La Cantini. So, and they have just told us that it is not going on well. That we need to go down on our knees and pray for God now to intervene, otherwise he will die. So if we are like that, we are not free. The whole quarter, every morning that we do out, our children, they want to kill us. So you people should come and intervene and help us, because it is not going well, please.
What did you ask him to do?
I am asking to the public power to come and help us. They should help us put security in our quarter. We need security. Without that, they will enter one day and carry us. You cannot allow your door here open and go to urinate behind. You come that they have displayed. They have done a lot of things. Sometimes they move with their box in the quarter. We are the thieves in this quarter. Give me 500. If you don't give, they'll put you out. They will come and attack you in the night. So please, we are pleading. Help us. We just need but help. Security is what we need. Thank you, sir.
An inhabitant of Pozam neighborhood in the Douala 2 subdivision calling on administrative and security and defense officials in the littoral region, notably here in Douala, to help the population fight the rising crime wave in that neighborhood. It is a problem that is affecting the population of several parts of the town of Douala and other major towns in the Republic of Cameroon. As far as that incident is concerned, the sum of 540,000 francs CAV and the mobile phones of the individual who was attacked last night in the Pozam neighborhood were simply taken away by the attackers, who are yet to be identified. Another problem in the town of Douala is wildfire. And this time around it is a popular snack bar that has been reduced to ashes. Everything was consumed by the flames in the Bonaberi area of Douala 4 subdivision. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
The entire content Our snack bar, worth millions of francs CFA, reduced to ashes by wild flames. The snack bar, located in the heart of Bonaberry in the Douala 4 subdivision, caught flames on Monday at about 10 p.m. According to the manager, the inferno was sparked by an electric disruption on the fridge.
Behind the fridge upstairs, the counter upstairs, it was a small fire. We tried to contain the fire with our fire extinguishers, but the fire was increasing, so we had to call the army rescue. They came in, they did all they could with all their expertise, but everything still went down. We thank God, us of Ismail Group, sir, no injuries sustained, no death. Everything is destroyed, but we say thank you, Jesus. That's all I have to say.
For the moment, the beautiful edifice, which has now become a shadow of itself, has left civil persons jobless.
The new divisional officer of Banga subdivision in the Mungo division, littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, has been urged to guard against those qualified as troublemakers crossing into that part of the littoral region from the southwest region of the country. And the call came from the senior divisional officer of the Mungo division during the installation of the new divisional officer of Banga. For me, I'm Strong Sander, Faris in details.
Banga, one of the 13 subdivisions of the Mungo division of the littoral region of Cameroon, is home to about 35,000 Cameroonians faced with numerous problems. The problems of Banga, identified by municipal and administrative officials, are infrastructural, security, health and social cohesion. Speaking during the installation of Tembo Christine Kenfo as new divisional officer from Banga, the mayor, Ejaka Ndale Henriette, said their problems are
the population of Banga lack farm to market roads. The subdivision has 7 health units with 1 district hospital. However, the district has many problems, including insufficient equipment, lack of personnel like gynecologists, pediatrists, and surgeons who were all transferred without replacement. Our taps are no longer flowing.
Apart from the infrastructural problems stated by the mayor, the security problems of Banga were outlined by the senior divisional officer for the Mungo division, Yves Bertrand Nguyen-Jana. Be careful with people who will come to mislead you under the guise of informant. You have to declare a merciless war against youth drug consumption, banditry and spill out of security problems on the border with the southwest region. You must effectively control the commercial motorbike sector. Problems all channeled to 33-year-old Tembo Christine, transferred to Mbanga subdivision from Bikok subdivision. He takes over from Vu Armstrong, transferred to Tiko subdivision in the Fako division of the southwest region.
Custom officials in the far north region of the country, and of course the north and the Damawa region, the 3 northern regions, are stepping up the fight against illegal trade between Nigeria, Cameroon and Chad, neighboring countries. And of course the custom officials recently intercepted a consignment of 1,400 smartphones that were illegally being transported into the country from Nigeria. Innocent Azi reports.
An intercepted large bag containing about 1,400 smartphones that was being transported from the north region to the Adamawa region.
This big bag, as you can see in front of me, we have about 1,400 mobile telephones of the latest generation. Very expensive mobile telephones. It was transported by a motorcycle. We saw it around the bushes of Demsa. Demsa is in the north region. So when we saw that he took the direction of Ngaundere, we had to organize our boys to wait for him, to trap him at the entrance of Ngaundere. So a few hours later, he fell into our dragnet.
At first, the custom officials suspected the transporter was carrying weapons.
When we saw him coming, our intelligence service thought it could be maybe light weapons or firearms. So because only one big bag on top of the bike is suspicious, so we had to follow him and caught him at the entrance of Ngaundere. Opening the bag, we saw telephones.
It is believed the mobile phones are from neighboring country Nigeria and being illegally channeled into Cameroon, thereby worsening condition of the already sick economy.
We have to calculate the duties, the taxes, and then he will pay plus penalties. You know, our country is being faced by security challenges, so we cannot sit and allow people enter into our country with goods that we don't know.
This is just one of the numerous operations to kill and bury smuggling and illicit trades by the Cameroon Custom in collaboration with the Defense and Security Forces, who pleads on the population to stop helping these smugglers, but the custom officials so as to cure the country's sick economy.
Out of Cameroon, the Ministry of Defense in Tunisia says relative calm has returned after days of protests in that country. Unrest spread across Tunisia after the government imposed an anti-COVID-19 lockdown amid economic hardship. Many Tunisians are frustrated by the lack of political reforms a decade after the Arab Spring. Official sources say Tunisian authorities have arrested more than 600 people following 3 consecutive nights of riots in several cities throughout the northern African country. The army has deployed troops to several areas, including Bizerte in the north, Sousse in the east, and Kasserine in the Siliana in the central Tunisian area. And rights group Amnesty International released a statement yesterday calling for the immediate release of all the arrested protesters. Washington, D.C. is on high alert ahead of tomorrow's presidential inauguration. The city is preparing for a transfer of power like no other as Joe Biden takes over from Donald Trump. That's your news.
It's going to be a presidential inauguration like no other. Drama and some traditions, of course, but there'll also be the tightest security in living memory. The pandemic and the January 6th storming of the Capitol have changed everything. Washington is on virtual lockdown, even as the preparations are underway. US flags are being placed in the National Mall, where visitors would normally stand. They represent the thousands of Americans who have lost their lives to COVID-19. 200 officers from the New York City Police Department are to assist with security. The authorities are determined to prevent a repeat of the violence seen at the Capitol. New video released by The New Yorker shows Trump supporters inside the seat of US democracy. At one point, intruders are seen rifling desks of lawmakers and photographing documents. More than 25,000 National Guard troops will be the backbone of the security deployment. Again, taking no chances, they've all been vetted by the FBI after concerns were raised about an internal threat. All 50 states are also on alert for possible violent protests. And what of the outgoing president? Donald Trump and his wife Melania are defying tradition, refusing to attend the ceremony of his successor, possibly concentrating on moving house to Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida.
Now, news on the ongoing African Nations Championship. Morocco leads Group C of the competition, unfolding with Group D matches in the Limbe in the southwest region of the country. In the matches played at the Douala Reunification Stadium yesterday, Rwanda and Uganda shared a point, while Morocco started the defense of the title with a win over Togo. Smanjikan Gebre with an update.
The clash between Jonathan McKinstry of Uganda and Mashimi Vincent of Rwanda ended goalless. The two teams played good football on the pitch, and many felt that it was one of the best encounters here at the Group C of the competition in Cameroon. But unfortunately, many were praying that most goals will come, but it ended goalless. The head coach of Uganda wasn't satisfied, but is hoping that the future will be bright for his boys in this competition.
I think obviously a lot of young guys there. I think 8 of our players were making their debut at Chan, and really it was just, I think, a little bit of nerves crept in. In the first half, there was just that a little bit of lack of confidence in the first half. In the second half, it was a lot better. That was helped by bringing a couple of more experienced heads on to maybe calm some of the young guys down a little bit. But look, we know we have to do better. You've seen from the games we've already played here in Cameroon that there's a much higher level possible from the boys. But look, this is part of Chan. It's part of young guys getting their chance, learning from the experience, and hopefully raising their level.
A player of Uganda also says they are going to prepare hard, as their next opponent will be none other than the Atlas Lions of Morocco.
It wasn't the results we expected, but that's what we got. So let's go back and prepare ourselves for the next game.
And what's your opponent this evening?
Of course, they were good. The opponents were very good. So we are seeking better results from this one.
Earlier on, the Atlas Lion of Morocco, who are the defending champions of the competition, beat Togo, newcomers into the competition, by 1-0, and the lone goal was scored from a penalty spot at the 24th minute of play. That was in the first half. Second half came without any goal.
Obviously, the first game was very difficult, but we managed to get a goal early in the first half, and that helped us throughout the game. But we hope for the best for the next games. But all the matches will be difficult. We have to stay concentrated and take it match by match. Start off with winning, and hopefully we can continue to the next matches and continue the hard work and everything, and wish for the best.
After 6 matches already played in the ongoing African Nations Championship, Group A, Group B and Group C, we have had just 4 goals that have been scored in 4 wins and 2 draws. By now, in Morocco, when they hosted in 2018, it was 15 goals already scored. No team this far has scored 2 goals in the competition. Reporting from the Bepanda Omnisport Stadium in Douala, Smart Njikan Gabriel, Raoul Tabufwe.
Thank you, Smart Njikan Gabriel. Coming up next, Talking Point. Thank you for joining us in Talking Points. Today we are talking health, we are talking about cervical cancer and cancer in general, and we are receiving a wellness coach and a cancer advocate, Eve Meyer. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babula. Thank you for having me.
You work for the Humanity at Heart organization, is that?
That's correct.
Okay, let's begin with cervical cancer. What's the prevalence rate of cervical cancer in Cameroon today? Actually,
at the moment, the prevalence is about 13.4%, which is an increase as compared to GlobalCan 2018. So we see that the rate is increasing as the days go by.
What about the death rate from cancer?
The death rate is actually also at an increase. If we are having new cases, which is about 2,770 cases, new cases, and we are having up to 1,759 deaths, we see that it's a health concern and needs everybody to take action.
It's a health concern, and I read somewhere that about 6 million Cameroonians, notably young girls around the age of 15, are at risk. Is that
sure? Absolutely, they're at high risk because we know that at that rate they are already at puberty and are sexually active. So if we need to prevent these girls from becoming more at risk, actually we need to take care of them by vaccinating them, so that when they become sexually active, we know that they are protected from the HPV, which is actually the virus causing cervical cancer.
What explains the increasing rate of cancer or cervical cancer precisely, the increasing prevalence rate? What explains that?
I would like, as a wellness coach, I would say lifestyle. The lifestyle that we have nowadays is not the best to prevent us from cancer. I know we have been talking, we have been creating awareness on this, but we also need to focus more now on our lifestyle. We see that there are higher risks if we don't live well. We could only have those symptoms, but we need to dig deep and see actually the root cause, which is related to our behavioral attitude, what we do, what we eat, how we sleep, whether we are exercising or not. So those are the actual causes of what is making this cervical cancer to be at an increase.
You know, some people may actually not be living well. They may not be living well, but without really being conscious about it. So when you talk about not living well, what exactly are you referring to?
Referring to healthy behaviors, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, and making sure you have good nutrients in your body.
You know, there are many Cameroonians who think that, you know, when you take a good piece of you know, pork meat and something like that, call it bouillon every morning and all of that stuff, and you take castel and you put it on it and all of that stuff. Yeah. That's good living.
Yeah, that's the notion we have here in Cameroon, living well.
So good living, when you talk about good living, I mean eating well.
Eating well simply means whatever goes to your plate should be complete, a complete diet, having all the nutrients. But before you go to the plate is actually the secondary food. Your primary food starts with your lifestyle, from your soul to your body, starting with your spirit, your mentality. In everything you want to do in life, you need to be intentional about it. You need to be intentional about when you have to sleep, when you have to wake up, what you need to eat, how you are supposed to exercise. That is one thing we Cameroonians are not used to doing. We just do it because we want to do it. We want to drink, we want to enjoy life, as we call it. We want to drink a lot of beer, we want to eat a lot of chicken without knowing the consequences of that. So living well simply means be conscious, be intentional.
What are some of the issues or some of the things that if they consumed, they will expose somebody to the risk of contracting not only cervical cancer but cancer in general?
In everything, it's not actually what you take in, just like what the Bible says. It's not what you take in that defiles you, is what comes out of you that defiles you. I would rather prefer we talk on the risks. Like when we have Cameroonians, we like to consume a lot of alcohol. We like to smoke. We like to stress out, and we release those stress in a bad way by smoking, by consuming alcohol, by going after women out there, because we know cervical cancer is caused by a virus which is sexually transmitted, which is the human papilloma virus. Therefore, if you go out drinking, if you go out smoking, if you go out chasing women, obviously you are at high risk of contracting this virus. So in essence, if you want to do anything in life, you, like I have said before, be intentional. Because if I want to say the do's and the don'ts, and you are not intentional about what you are doing, I'm just wasting time. So you as a person, you need to sit back and say, my health matters, I need to take care of the health.
And take the right decisions.
Absolutely.
And take the right actions.
Sure.
In order to prevent. Now, let's talk about the young girls. There seems to be a lot of focus on young girls, notably around the age of puberty, around the age of between 15 and 20. Why the focus on young girls? Is it that they are more at risk, or what explains that for us?
The young girls actually, according to WHO standard, we take from 9 to 13 years, or we can extend to 9 to 15 years, simply because we consider that these young girls are at at hormonal changes, and we are trying to make sure that before they actually are fully groomed into puberty, they are protected from contracting that virus. Remember, Babila, at one moment in everyone's life, if you are sexually active, you have that probability of contracting the HPV. So when we target the young girls from 9 to 15 years, it's simply to protect them for their lifetime. This is not 100% sure, because at one moment in time, they still need to go in for screenings. We are talking about the cervix. So without all this vaccination and screenings, you will not be able to know that it exists, because it needs to be screened before you know that you actually have the HPV.
So for you to know that you have contracted cervical cancer, you need to be screened. And
absolutely.
Without screening, there are no symptoms. There is nothing that will give you a signal, anything.
There are actually symptoms, and that's the reason why January is actually Cervical Cancer Awareness Month, and we are creating awareness to make sure that every woman and men, inclusive with children, should be aware that they need to go in for this screening, simply because you are at risk of contracting it, and if you wait for symptoms, you might be late. That is why you see this death rate increasing, because we wait until we are maybe at stage 3 of cervical cancer or stage 4 before we present ourselves to the hospital. So when we create this awareness, you can use 5,000 and you're protected for a lifetime. So when we create awareness, you need to go in for screening, simply because it can stay from 15 to 20 years and you will not know about it, because it's not painful. But if symptoms do...
That time it's developing.
Absolutely.
It's growing.
So the moment you have the first sign, which is maybe excessive bleeding or foul smell with your discharge, or maybe you have back pain, leg pain, it means it's already advancing stage. But if it's still at the precancerous stage, it doesn't have symptoms.
All right. The screening, it's done once, or you need to do it every year? You need to go at what frequency?
The screenings depends on what the health provider sees. If your immune system is compromised, say you have HIV, you will be asked to come in 6 months or in a year's time. But if you are screened and you are negative of the HPV virus, you'll be asked to come either in 3 years or in 5 years. Because we know that maybe within that period, it can develop. So you need to come back for a follow-up checkup.
And the screening costs just 5,000 francs?
Yes.
Anyway, it's not just 5,000 because...
It's just as compared to what you will endure when it's actually symptomatic.
Compared to, yeah. Right, so after the screening, if actually you screen, you're tested positive for cervical cancer, what next?
That's a good question, Babila. When you are tested for pre-cancer cells, there is what we call the see and treat. When the health provider sees that you have lesions of cancer cells presenting on your cervix, it will be treated. They will propose you a type of treatment. It can be chemotherapy. That's all about the health provider. He can determine the treatment depending on the gravity of the lesion. But if it is advanced already, you will be proposed to do either a surgery or radiation therapy or chemotherapy, depending on how the cervical cancer presents.
You don't have to wait. You have to go for treatment immediately.
Not at all. It's not something to wait. That's our cry. We cry for everyone out there, you, the woman in the house, the children, to go in for screening, because our women are dying. They're dying every day. Imagine that in Cameroon, at least 5 women die daily from cervical cancer. It's a health concern.
5 women die daily from cervical cancer.
Sure, it's something we should worry about.
All right. What about that is the healthcare delivery as far as the cervical cancer is concerned? Is it holistic? Is it up to expectation? Is it up to the threat?
It's holistic, let me put it that way, but the health system needs to step up to make sure, like in October, we could hear everywhere talking about Pink October. but this is January, we are not talking about cervical cancer that much. The health system has to step up to make sure that every January, not just January, we should be talking about it because it's silent, it's what we call non-communicable, it's killing. So the government, the health system needs to step up. As at now, we wouldn't say it's really holistic as we expect it to be, but we are trying to step up so that every woman can be reached, every woman can be prevented from this disease. So it's a cry to everyone out there, community leaders, government, churches, everybody to step up and let's unite and fight cervical cancer.
What should be done to make sure that it is actually holistic? Increase sensitization?
Yes, we need to increase sensitization and develop more funds for prevention. For my experience in the field, like I just came in from a field, I just visited a cancer patient today. The cry is there is no money. It's expensive. The treatment is expensive. We don't have money. Something has to be done to either step down the fee of the chemotherapy or radiation therapy to enable those that are from the rural settings to be able to access the healthcare systems, because this is not accessible even to an average Cameroonian. If you go to the general hospital and you see patients, they are crying. It's expensive. So something has to be done to step it down so that everyone suffering can also alleviate pain and not add to the poverty already existing.
Government should subsidize treatment for patients of cervical cancer. Yeah. Now, while all of that is being done, we continue to insist, for it is often said and everybody knows that prevention
is better than cure. It's better than cure.
Prevention should be stepped up to the level of sensitization. Now, you at the level of your organization, the humanity at heart, so what are you people doing?
The organization actually, it's a cancer prevention and advocacy center. What we do, we create this awareness and we link up the patients to the various hospitals, to referral hospitals. It can be CBC, it can be General Hospital, it can be the one in Yaoundé, the nearest hospital that is into cancer care. And when we send patients to these various health facilities, what we do is follow up. Because sometimes patients are lost to follow up because maybe they lacked money, or they go in for their testing and they don't come back for results. But when they pass through the Humanitarian Heart International, we take their numbers and make sure we call and make sure they have gone for screenings, make sure that they come back with their results, and we verify whether they're positive or not so that we can step up the follow-up with them and make sure that they receive appropriate treatment.
All right, thanks so much, Eve Maya, wellness coach and cancer advocate. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Babla. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Equinoxe is coming up next with Sesha Lamoto.